watching the dog show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.
You're listening to the one and only Dog Show. Your hosts, Troup Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dog Show with Troup and Smooch.
We did it, Troop. We made it. We're here, buddy.
What an off season. What an off season. Every off season is just an effort in counting down the days. It seems like from 100. And then when you get to a certain point, you start counting down the days in terms of the players' jersey numbers. Put those up. But yeah, we're as we record this on Thursday night, it feels like, I mean, it doesn't even matter because Thursday night, Friday night, we're all in preparation. It's like a week-long tailgate, as it were, for the opening of the season.
Countdown to kickoff, baby.
The countdown to kickoff is here, and we are on the road to the national championship, and that's what this podcast is all about. Dog fans, for Smooch Moncrief and Troup Brenson, we're excited to be here. We're excited because the football is happening as early as tonight and tomorrow night. Smooch.
Absolutely. I can't believe it's finally here. We're recording this on Thursday, so we're Boise State, South Florida, doing some stuff. It's just, you can smell it, you can feel it in the air. Two pretty intriguing games tomorrow night, and I do disagree with you. It's not like a 3-day tailgate or 4-day tailgate. It is a 4-day tailgate, and we're here.
You have a cocktail right here.
You do.
So, yeah.
You deserve it. You made it. You made it this far. And
We made it. We made it. Yeah.
Man, the slate of games. Can you think of a better week one slate of games ever?
It's really good. And before we even mention Friday night's games, which, typically are games that directional school, which you're not going to talk about, but Saturday's games kick off. Mm-hmm. The noon game that everybody's talking about, of course, is that Texas-Ohio State game, and that's just going to build. We're already been building towards that. We're excited to see both of those teams. Yeah. Because there is some intrigue with both of those squads. Of course, they're both a national championship quality rosters.
Agreed.
So we're excited to have that type of game to kick off our weekend. But it's not even that. Georgia plays at 3:30, of course. And Tennessee also plays against, I think, Syracuse at noon before. So you could have that split screen going with Tennessee playing and Ohio State, Texas playing as well. But Friday night, there's a couple of games that are worth watching. If you weren't craved for football, we still want to know what's going on. Yeah. I think Georgia Tech plays.
They play Colorado.
Yeah. And Colorado, we all followed what happened with Colorado the last couple of years with the Coach Prime reality show and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Yeah, so we're excited to see that. Well, they did have a Georgia recruit that Georgia was in the lead for, it seemed like, for a bit. Right. And that is Juju Lewis.
Yes. Interestingly enough, we were – I hate the term crystal ball, but we were crystal balled Juju Lewis by several different sites, and that was going to be this done deal. I will have to say, Troop, though, we did entertain the upside, and we were excited. Something never quite felt – and we talked to Scott Fitzgerald about this. He never quite felt like a dog. We never got that feeling. And then in the process, said a couple of things and ended up at Colorado seeking a starter position.
Dude, he committed to USC. He was committed to USC for a long time. We kept saying he's not going to stay. He's not going to be at USC because he was always in search of the better deal, the better situation. And one reason I could not believe they actually said this, that one reason he didn't sign with Georgia is because he was not going to sit. And at Georgia, he was going to have to sit a year or two, and he was not prepared to do that. And so he committed to USC because Lincoln Riley, the quarterback, one of the quarterback whisperers, as they is termed to several coaches, and we kept telling USC he's not going to end up there.
He's not going to stay, guys.
And so he took the bait and went to Colorado. And interestingly enough, it looks like he's not starting. He's going to have to sit at Colorado.
So he gets to Colorado, and it's just assumed by the media. It's assumed by the people. Oh, he's there. He's going to be Deion's starter. He's just going to step in for Shedeur. It's going to be this seamless transition, and away he goes. But Troup, there was a name he did not take into consideration. Caden Salter.
Hold on, you say Hayden?
Caden, it's with a K, but you can probably pronounce it either way. I'm pretty sure not all his teammates know it. But it's Caden Salter, the Juju killer, went out and took that, what we all assumed, and according to his family's remarks and his remarks, what he expected to be his starting job. So flirting with 3 schools at least like Juju did, he still sits today, and he'll be sitting Saturday as well, as they've named their starter, Caden Salter.
It's not like we are haters, but we call it out when we've done it with Tennessee for years. You live by the sword, you die by the sword.
That's so true.
And so, any quarterback or any position player who thinks they are good enough to play against the best, they should put themselves against the best, because there's a good chance you're going to sit anywhere. You're going to have to take time to get better, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you want to be the best version of yourself. That's ultimately what your goal should be wherever you go, and you want to put yourself in a situation where I'm going to be the best version of myself. Yeah. How can you? And there's no upside anywhere else. You got to be, you only have a certain amount of potential,
right,
and you want to surround yourself with those top players. So
there's so much where, first of all, let me defend Juju for a minute. As oddly satisfying as this whole situation is, when you're a fat out of shape guy looking at these great athletes, you have to remember these kids, Juju for instance, grew up the best at everything he did. If it involved athletics, he was the best player on the field. They have that mindset because they are that good. They are the cream of the crop. And so when you're telling them to take the role of a backup, holding a clipboard, as they say, or learning, sometimes it just doesn't compute with what they've experienced their whole life. And now it's time to sit. But you touched on something that was so important. Wise players that go on and have 10, 15-year NFL careers, they understand that sometimes there is value in taking a step back and learning and being taught. And this is a thing we say in my profession all the time: receiving, teaching, and correction well. That is a huge part to personal growth.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for those guys from high school to it's a tough lesson to learn. Sometimes they learn it. They have the right people around them to say this is a part of the process, and sometimes they don't. That is the opening slate of games, Smooch. It's Georgia Tech and Colorado, and Auburn and Baylor is that tandem of games to go with the Georgia Tech Colorado game. So we're excited to see that, because it kind of leads us into that Saturday.
Absolutely, and, they're solid games. Both the two games Friday night are winnable by any of the 4 teams. It might be an upset for a couple to win, but those are both.
Who would you say should win those games? I mean, who would you, if you had to put money on both those games, what would you say?
Okay, well, I think Georgia Tech has the ability to punch Colorado in the mouth.
They are we saw them last year, a much more disciplined team, a team that's prepared for a dogfight or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, Georgia, when Georgia beat Georgia Tech last year, it was because Georgia could keep running 4 and 5 stars onto the field in the fourth quarter and keep beating them up. They took every punch Georgia had for 3.5 quarters of that game, and then into overtime. They just literally ran out of resources by the end. But those guys are tough, and when I think of tough teams, Deion Sanders doesn't pop into my mind when I think of tough. I think fast, cool offense, flash, but I do not think toughness. After that game with Georgia Tech, nobody's questioning that team's toughness.
Right. And then what about that Auburn? Now we haven't even prefaced the show yet, but that Auburn, I still want to talk about that. The Auburn Baylor. You think that Auburn? You hear a lot of chirping from the Auburn fans, and they think that they have a team that can compete this year, and they did this last year too. That's what talking season is all about.
Best wide receiver room in all of football for 2 straight years. So
they do have a good wide receiver room.
They do.
And Jackson Arnold.
Jackson Arnold.
Arnold Palmer.
Jackson Arnold Palmer. Yeah.
Yeah. Jackson Arnold is in, and they have a lot of hope and faith in him. So we'll see.
The
It
Baylor
will be a game we'll see something from. Yes.
Yeah. The Baylor game has this feel to it. If Auburn can come out and take care of business, they can put that game away. But if they let Baylor hang around long enough till Auburn starts thinking about what if this Baylor team sneaks up on us week 1, when that starts, I don't know what they have to combat it. That's when you require high character, high work ethic. We don't see that with anything happening at Auburn. So
Not yet.
If they come out and jump on them early, they should put the game away. If they don't, and this thing escalates and snowballs, like a Georgia, Missouri from a few years ago where it just got way too close. Georgia was able to pull it out, but when the doubt started, the game got closer, right? And so I think that Baylor could put that into Auburn in this game.
And one thing is that with Auburn, we, as a long-time Georgia and SEC fans, we anticipate at some point Auburn's going to get their shit together.
Yeah.
And Auburn's going to be a team that finally puts enough talent on the field, or that they're a dangerous team that's going to win games that they should, and maybe win a couple games they shouldn't. That just hasn't happened in the last few years. But we anticipate, so we're kind of looking at some of those games to see what they have and what they can do. And last year wasn't it, and we predicted that last year. But look, just prefacing our show, Smooch, we are going to talk about the 2025 I think it's 247 put out a composite, a talent composite of who are the most talented teams right now in this coming season. Who's the most talented teams when it comes to recruiting and who is on your roster? Because recruiting now entails the high school kids, also entails who's on your roster and who comes from the transfer portal, all those things. How talented are you? We'll take a look at that. That really will show you where teams are. Sometimes the talent is in the right spot, sometimes it's not. So you sometimes have a team that's very high on that composite, but they don't have it in the right area. So we'll take a look at that. And then we're going to also go through Georgia's full schedule and just briefly talk about what we anticipate happening in terms of the results. And then we'll also kind of talk about the teams in this season, not just Georgia, but in terms of the country that are competing for a national championship. There's about 8 or 9 teams.
I agree.
I wouldn't go beyond that.
Agreed.
And what do we anticipate? What's our analysis of those teams and what we think how that's going to transpire this year? Once we talk about all that, it's going to be a full show, and we cannot wait to get into it because we got football on the other side of this. Ooh. And I think after this podcast is over tonight, it's all about just watching football, right?
Oh, so much.
Love it.
It's the first week of the year is like drinking out of a fire hose when it comes to the games because every team, Auburn thinks they have a shot at national championship. Tennessee feels like they have a shot at a national championship. So you're watching all these teams to see who the pretenders are. But some of these teams you're not going to be watching by week 5. But this first part of the year, you want to take in as much as you can. So, yeah, it's like drinking through a fire hose.
Yeah, everybody seems to think that they are right there. They're on the cusp of winning these games and we've talked to different fan bases over the course of the last offseason when they think that we lost 3 games just by a single score.
Yeah.
Sounds like USC, right? USC's always saying that.
Something like that, yeah.
We lost these games by a single score. All we got to do is fix that. That's not not easy as it sounds like. And so let's take a look at this composite. We're going to pop it up on your screen right now. And this is the 2025 college football team talent composite. And it is by 247 Sports.
I was surprised. I was surprised by the list. Not only that where Georgia stood, but how far ahead actually Georgia actually sticks out on this list because Troup, what we see on this list right here, I want to hear your thoughts of it. What we see on this list and what we're hearing from the media and the SEC experts this year about the drop-off, the demise of Georgia, seems to be grossly exaggerated.
It is. It is. But like I said last week, it's not because they don't think Georgia has talent. It's a judgment on who they think Gunnar Stockton is. And I don't have any doubt in Stockton right now. He's got a chance to prove me right or wrong. But looking at this, Georgia is number one in the talent composite for this season. Mm-hmm. So all those prognosticators and the pundits, Georgia. That's a reason why they keep Georgia right in the mix. But it's going to come down to, I think, a couple of things, and quarterback play is definitely one of them. But as Georgia has shown you over the years, quarterback play just needs to be better than average. It needs to be somebody who doesn't lose you games. And so if Gunnar Stockton comes out, and he very well could come out to be a Heisman level in the mix kind of a talent and a producer, then Georgia, the ceiling, there's no ceiling for Georgia in terms of what they do this year. But let's take a look at it. And I will say, if you look at Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, look at those top five. That makes sense. That's what we see.
It really does. And
when all these other Big Ten schools, and there's a Big Ten school in there, and two Big Ten schools, if you look at Oregon, and they say Georgia or the SEC is just propped up by smoke and mirrors or two top schools. It's not. It's the talent's always in the SEC, and you can
without a doubt
see
we
LSU,
have the proof. Yeah,
and Texas A&M too.
Yeah,
it's always talent. There's so much talent that is in there, and so it just tells you. It doesn't tell you what the results are going to be, but it does give you a pretty good predictor.
I agree. Something about this list this year, Troup, and if you look at just take 1 through 4, with all of the talent that the teams have, all 4 have to answer a question at quarterback this season.
Yeah,
with
true.
All
that's
4.
Great point.
Yeah, so you've got Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas. All of them are starting this. They're starting quarterback with somebody else last year.
That makes it so interesting, right? Mm-hmm. It's so interesting when you look at that because Georgia's got Gunnar Stockton, his first starting. You're starting Ty Simpson for Alabama, first year starting. Julian Sayin for Ohio State, first year. And then, of course, you got Arch Manning. Well, he's a 4-year starter for Texas. Yeah. No, he's not. He's a first-year starter for Texas as well. They would have you believe he's already done it 2 times over.
It's over.
And,
why play?
And Oregon's new starter, Dylan Gabriel, was drafted last year by Cleveland. So, all these teams. The number 6 team in there is Nussmeier for LSU. And the reason that I doubt Nussmeier is not because of Nussmeier.
That's a good
because
point.
I don't believe in his coach.
You're
I believe
right.
in Brian Kelly ability. So
he did so much damage to his street cred on that Netflix documentary or whatever it's called, that Netflix series.
Yeah.
You're sitting there watching it going, this isn't an SEC coach. This is more like a used car salesman or a stepdad trying to get to know you better or something. It just, something about it was just odd and off-putting. But, yeah, I do like Clemson right there at 7 because we've talked about they're strong at the quarterback and they've got a returning stud. And then you look, they've got some talent to go along with it. And I've still got my eye on Clemson because of their path and their talent and then their leadership at the quarterback position.
Great point. And I think they're only out of the top. I mean, it makes a difference because, both of those teams have quarterbacks who are in the mention for possible Heisman Trophy winners, and Nussmeier and Klubnik. Their defense both of those defenses were not up to par last year. And so so that's why they're doubted a bit because overall their talent composite is a little bit less. They have really good quarterbacks, but if they had the same talent composite as Georgia and Alabama and OSU, they'd be right there at number 1 or 2. They don't. And so Georgia does have a few more commits or players listed in this. 93, that's the highest amount. The next highest is LSU at 86. Alabama only has 82. And so looking at the average, so those numbers do matter.
They do.
The totality of those numbers matter. Georgia, they're all very similar. So the average in terms of the talent composite, Georgia averages in the rating as 92.47. That's still behind Alabama 92.59, but it's a very small amount.
Right.
It's basically the same.
They both keep amazing amounts of talent on the roster year in, year out. Yeah.
Texas is just above Georgia with 92.5, but 92.47 and 92.5, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the difference in a judgment by
right.
one person.
Right.
And then Ohio State, all those teams are right there. So I really look at the talent composite as Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Texas. They have the most talent. There's no denying that. But you got to have it in the right spots, and sometimes you got.
That's it.
If you don't have injuries, then you still have guys who have to perform. And last year, Georgia's Carson Beck was rated as maybe the number one quarterback and a Heisman front runner, and that just when the game started happening, that didn't work out that way.
It didn't. The Georgia team was a completely different team on paper. At this exact moment last year, we were expecting Georgia to be something completely different than we saw the entire season. So that could happen to any of these other teams. We're kind of hoping it doesn't happen to Georgia again, but it could certainly happen to any of these teams, especially with these unproven quarterbacks. And Arch Manning, Ty Simpson, those guys are all unproven, just like Gunnar Stockton is unproven. So somebody's going to be good, somebody's going to be bad. They're not all going to be good. So
they won't be, and that's I'm so excited about this season. One reason because of that.
Yeah,
because there are some. I like to see some of those new players and new difference makers announce themselves. As we go through the schedule, Smooch, let's take a look at this.
Yeah,
and Georgia's got a couple of games that they should do good work in. When we look at Marshall this weekend and then Austin Peay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think nobody's going to root against. They're going to pick against Georgia to win those games.
Sure.
But then the things start getting a little – because last year you could say that Georgia had one of the toughest schedules in the country, one of the toughest schedules Georgia's ever had.
Absolutely.
Ever. And they have those games at home now.
Right.
And so when we get back to when the games really start to matter for Georgia, that's going to be on Smooch's birthday.
Yes.
The 13th of September.
Right into the fire that day. Yeah, absolutely.
Georgia has to hit the road and travel to Neyland
That's
Stadium,
a hard place
Tennessee.
to play. Yeah, wild. It's wild environment.
It hasn't been hard for Georgia in recent memory, but I anticipate this year may be harder because it's so early.
Yeah.
And I think Tennessee has finally began to build a roster to do some damage.
I agree.
And the question with Tennessee this year is going to be because last year, whether you're paying attention to Nico and all the hype around him, or really seeing how Tennessee was playing, which was with their defense and their running game, Dylan Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Can they do it again this year?
Right.
If their new quarterback Aguiar, his last playing time was like App State, but he then transferred to UCLA, then transferred to Tennessee. Will they have the same recipe for success this year? Because a lot of folks have been calling out Heupel because some of his players that move on to the NFL are not prepared to play in the NFL, which doesn't really matter what happens on the college level because you can still succeed on the college level and not be prepared to play in the NFL. But because if Aguiar is not all that, and they don't have the same defense or running game. Dylan Sampson was really good last year.
That's a great point because he's not there. That gets overlooked by so many.
Because people are saying, well, you can't because Nico was not a difference maker. Despite his name and how much they paid him, he was not a difference maker in key games last year. He wasn't.
That's right.
And so if he's not, you got to rely on something. And if it's not, I think the defense is going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did lose their best defensive end to the Atlanta Falcons.
They did. Yeah, he looks good too, by the way.
He does. And so if their defense takes a step back and their running game takes a step back and their quarterback position is spotty, a turnover-prone quarterback, Aguiar, I don't know what to expect from Tennessee. They're a wild card to me, Smooch.
It comes down to what we say about Tennessee when we tried to calm them down the last few years. The more ifs you have, you're not going to win all your ifs. So if a good team wins most of their ifs, but there's still ifs that go the wrong way. And Tennessee has so many, and they'll fix one weakness only to lose a player and have nothing there to replace him with at another position. That seems to be the Tennessee way. They're flash, there's an interesting. They run this interesting gimmick scheme offense, and the defense is aggressive, and it's an attempt to mask gaping holes. They have some players that play really well, and then they have some that might not even stay on the roster at some of these other schools. And so with Tennessee, you're right back where you are every year. You're assuming that you're going to hit on every single what if, and it's just not the case. And history has shown it in recent years, Troup.
Yeah, and as you look at what we talked about previously, the talent composite, they are not in the top 10 of talent. Mm-hmm. And so, so your margin of error is smaller. So Georgia, I predict Georgia to win that game on the road. First real test. Gunnar Stockton goes in there. He's just he's going to look like a professional.
I think so.
That's what I anticipate. And everybody else is battle tested, I think, pretty much for Georgia. Yeah. And so moving on, and we got Georgia has an off week. Georgia's looking at 3-0 and having a home game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And that's the game that, of all games all year long, we have circled, right, Smooch?
100%, bro. That Alabama game, this is a revenge game, and they've got to come to our place. It was so weird to see Kirby Smart get out-schemed. I don't want to say out-coached, but he got out-schemed in the first half. They were ready for Georgia's defense. I think Brandon Adams said the other day it was almost like they had the playbook when they were on offense.
Buzzsaw.
Yeah, just like a buzzsaw. And Jalen Milroe, had he put together 3 more games like he did against Georgia, would have won the Heisman last year.
Had he won a national championship, yes.
It may have won a national championship. He had an amazing game. And so there's a lot there. Now, we have some ifs too. Does Kirby know exactly where the holes and breakdowns were on defense? We know we can fix them on offense because drops and players running the wrong route, those are fixable. We know what they are. You can see them like happened on offense. But is Georgia at a place where they match up scheme-wise? We said, Kirby matches up great with Heupel. Kirby matches up great with Sark out in Texas. Does Kirby match up with DeBoer? That's what we're going to find out. But we get to find out at home, and the dog show will be in the stands. So,
yes, that is a deciding factor. Which Troup on premises. And you're right. I think that game last year the first half was definitely an outlier. I can say that because you didn't see that from Alabama or the rest of the season. You really didn't.
No, they got up for that game. Yeah,
and what they did in that first half was just amazing. It was just outstanding. I was watching Milroe thinking this guy's better than Mike Vick, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing.
No answer. The second half was the answer, I guess. But
so I don't think that DeBoer is the coach that's got Kirby's number. I can give that to Saban, and I'll tip my cap that way. I do not think DeBoer is that coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think there's any mystique about what he's doing or going to do at Alabama. He can accumulate talent, and they got Georgia and Alabama, the 2 most talented teams in the country for this year. But,
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I just want to see it,
We got to do it. We got to exercise those teams. I think Georgia will, and they'll be 4-0 heading into another game. That will be against Kentucky, another home game. Kentucky's not the same team as last year. We're not going to spend any time on that team. I think it's Mark Stoops' last season at Kentucky. Yeah, and I just got a feeling that's not going to work out for them.
They're heading a bad direction right now. It's going to be a few years.
And so that's 5-0. Georgia's 5-0 headed into a game a lot of folks look at against Auburn. And this is October 11th against Auburn. It's a night game
at Jordan-Hare.
It's in Jordan-Hare. I have to say Jordan or Jordan. Most of the time I say Jordan. But and so a lot of people are thinking that if Georgia's going to lose a game, this is going to be the one. Unless Georgia's like banged up terribly, I don't think it is.
I agree. Again, I don't know where that's coming from. I know it's a nightmare place to play, but it just doesn't feel
Alabama,
right.
For Alabama, not for Georgia.
I agree.
Georgia's won 17 out of 20 against these guys. There's no mystique. There's nothing that the best team wins. Georgia's been leaps and bounds better than they are, and maybe Auburn. I mean, who knows what Jackson Arnold's going to present? Who knows what those wide receivers? But we know that skill players don't make your whole team. And Auburn is best when their defensive line is a juggernaut.
Right.
And they are not.
No. And the strength of that team is the wide receiver room. That's the strength of that team. Well, look at Kirby. What's the strength of – look at the talent that is stacked up 3 deep in the secondary. I'll take a Kirby secondary against an Auburn receiving room any day, and I really think it comes down to that. So they'll take their best punch, and they'll be just fine.
Yeah, I don't think Georgia's losing that game.
No.
I mean, you can lose. It's SEC. You could lose that game. I would not predict Georgia. I think to lose that game, I think Georgia's 6-0, and they will be hosting Ole Miss on the 18th, undefeated. And Ole Miss is definitely a team who has lost a lot. Jackson Dart was very impressive. Those defensive ends last year against Georgia were very impressive. It was on the road too. And Georgia put 52 points up on Ole Miss in 2023.
Right.
And so last year was just one of those things. Everything come together just right at home, and they put it all together for Georgia. And Carson Beck. That was one of the games where we started saying
something's wrong.
Where is your head at, Carson Beck? When we finally, I mean, the Alabama game was one thing, but then we were like, are you even in the meeting rooms? Are you? I mean, where's your head at? You're thinking about your TikTok, your girlfriend. What's going on here? And I think Carson lost us in this game. Now the offensive line got abused a bit. But that's going to happen. You're going to have games where your offensive line, you're going to have it. It's going to happen. You can't just implode. Right. And Georgia got hammered in that game. Was it 28-10, something like that?
Yeah, something. I stopped watching.
It wasn't a good one. And so that was last year. That's not Ole Miss this year. I respect Lane Kiffin. I'm more entertained by Lane Kiffin.
He's fun.
But I don't think Georgia loses at home to Ole Miss.
Georgia's not. I'm going to tell you this, Dog Show Nation. I think there may be a loss. If I look at this schedule, I think there's a loss on this schedule, and it's not here. I don't think Kirby loses revenge games at home. We're not going to lose 2 in a row to Bama or Ole Miss.
Yeah, and looking back, I think that Alabama game is a game that Georgia really takes control. I think that's a game where Georgia's all the years of losing games and close games and whatever comes with that, I think you're going to – and we've said exercising things. I think Georgia's going to put it on Alabama that game. I really do. And Coach mentioned this a few weeks ago, and I was like, I don't think we're going to put a Oregon beating on them. He's like, we could. I was like, I would like it, but I think Georgia's going to handle the Alabama game, and that they're going to roll from that. And then you got an off week before the Florida game, Smooch, and that's a game some people are saying that's going to be a knockdown, drag out kind of a game against the Gators.
Yeah, the cocktail party. If there is but I'm a pick 'em on this game. So if I had to pick a loss, I don't think you look at a season to say where are the losses and let's start from there and work backwards. I think it's ridiculous. You say if everybody's healthy, everybody's playing well, what are your chances to beat this team if they're playing well? Okay, well, I think Georgia's favored in every game that I see. However, this Florida game, coming off the emotion of Ole Miss, and you would at that point you may have taken out Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, and Ole Miss. That is the perfect time for a letdown and a perfect time to get in one of those games where it's emotion over talent. And that Florida game feels like a trap. I know the boys will be up for it, but it just has an ominous feeling. And looking at it from this far out.
Again, the variable is who? Kirby Smart.
Right. Oh, I agree. I
think Kirby Smart knows this game, and I don't know if Alagway is even going to be healthy by that point because he's shown a propensity to get it dinged up and injured.
Right.
And but if so, did you see those Florida Gators on that top 10 talent composite? You didn't.
No.
And so what you have to have is you have to have a quarterback like Lagway go insane.
Play schoolyard football. Yeah.
Like Milroe did last year. You have to have that happen.
Right.
Because we've mentioned it before, if you don't have the same talent as your opponents, you're going to have a quarterback elevate you a couple of levels.
Yeah, we say that all the time. Yep.
Maybe Lagway could, but I'm still going to say.
Yeah, college football, the quarterback can elevate the team from below 500 to playoff team. The quarterback can do that single-handedly if it's the right. If you get one of these quarterbacks that can run around and make throws. So, but Lagway's an if. He's not a given.
He's an if. He's still. What's he proven so far? if it was his third year and he's already playing a lot of big games where
Right.
it has shown he hasn't. It's all potential still at this point.
Yeah, my concern with the Florida game has zero to do with talent or coaching. It has to do with emotions and the mental and physical drain of the season. And that's the reason I have pause here. I still think if you're going to bet it, you bet Georgia to win. I mean, Georgia
Got an
shouldn't lose
off
to
week
Florida. Yeah.
in front of it. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
And that's why Georgia's taking control of that series. Georgia does play against Mississippi State the next week. Mississippi State might be the worst team in the SEC, maybe even below. I think Vandy still got Pavia. Yeah, Mississippi State should be an easy W for Georgia.
It's just going to be miserable. I hate those cowbells.
Because it is on the road, yes.
Yeah, I cannot stand that stadium and those cowbells and how noisy everything is. It drives me crazy. So I cannot remember the last satisfying game I watched at Mississippi State. I'm just like, let's get the win and get out of here. I am so tired of these people.
That's exactly right. Just get a W, be healthy as you can, and get out. There's nothing much exciting about that Mississippi State game.
Right.
Now,
Here we go.
after that, then things do get exciting.
The deep
Because
water.
The deep water. Yeah, Georgia walks into the deep water, or Texas walks into the deep water. Let's put it that way. As they do travel to Athens, and Georgia beat them twice last year, beat them on their home field, just destroyed them, honestly.
Yeah.
And I watched that game today again, 23-0 it was at one point. And Texas does come into Athens. And you mentioned this earlier, Smooch, that you don't go into if you're trying to predict your season as any kind of, I guess, person like we're trying to figure things out and tell everybody what our opinions are.
Right.
But you don't say, okay, we're going to win, we're going to lose at least one game or maybe two games, and then go backwards and try to figure out who those games are going to be.
Exactly.
But if you did,
Yeah.
you might look at this game.
Yeah.
You might look at the Auburn game. But you might look at one of these two games, Auburn or even though it's at home and Georgia has won, they have a 29-game winning streak at home, I think it is.
Yeah.
And there'll be more by this point.
Right.
So you would say if you did that Georgia had to lose a game, Smooch, that Texas with a top 5 talent composite, with a quarterback who is in his third year in the program, who has all-world talent as reported by a lot of the media pundits, and Arch Manning, and they have weapons, and they have a line of scrimmage. They have a lot. They got their number one running back. This might be a game where you say, okay, Georgia might take a L here at home.
Well, you look at just the law of averages. You know how hard it is to beat an elite team. Texas was an elite team last year. They're an elite team this year. How hard it is to beat an elite team 3 times in a row. That's what we're asking the Dogs to do in Athens. That would be, they took care of Texas twice last year. We're going to turn around and say, and get them this year too. Law of averages says that's really hard to do, but beating them twice was hard to do too, and that happened. So it could be the game that takes away the O, as they say.
It could be the game that we predict that Georgia, if we're going to lose a game, this is the game. And we could predict that. But we don't. No, we do not.
No, we're
just
still
looking
gonna-
at this game
We'll come out with a win.
on its face. I think Gunnar Stockton's better than Arch Manning. I don't think he's got the same last name. I think he's going to be better
Preach.
in 2025
Come on.
than Arch Manning is.
Boom.
I think Georgia's lines of scrimmage are very comparable. Or let's say Texas's lines of scrimmage are very comparable to Georgia's, who was littered with 4- and 5-star talent. And I think Georgia's skill players are better. I think their wide receiver and their running back room is going to be better than Texas. And I'm going to lean on Coach Smart on a home game. And Georgia's going to win this game, be undefeated at this point in the season, 10-0 as they beat Texas. Because, again, if you go into a season thinking as prognosticators that we're going to lose 1, maybe 2 games, you can find those games. If you look at it game-by-game basis, I don't see Georgia losing this game at home based on what I saw last year.
Yes.
And I think Georgia's going to be better this year.
Right.
Just looking at players, I think Georgia's going to be better this year. And so I don't think they're losing this game at home. I really don't. Not under Coach Smart.
That's
You can
another
say-
way to look at it. Texas couldn't handle Georgia last year, and Georgia is better this year. That's kind of how we see it.
That's
So,
what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gunnar Stockton and that running back room could come out and not look at all what we think they should be, but I don't. That's where the emphasis has been.
Yeah.
And the way Coach Smart coaches, if you, we've said it like a dozen times, the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease.
That's right.
And that running back room and the execution offensively is going to be better this year. I don't doubt it. I think Gunnar Stockton's immensely talented, and people are going to know his name, and they're going to deny that they ever doubted him midway through the season, and we're going to say, yeah, you did, and we did. So it's Georgia 10-0, and they got a game at Charlotte, or hosting Charlotte on November 22nd.
Yes.
Easy W, 11-0, and then they head to the Bends to play Georgia Tech. What you think about that game to finish the regular season, Smooch?
I'm thrilled about that game, that Tech is back to where you don't feel like you're beating up your little brother when you get to play them. You know, they are a competitive team now, and that's going to be a serious game. And at this point, we could be looking at a playoff berth that's already assured. Maybe even a trip to the SEC title game that's already assured.
For Georgia, yes.
For Georgia, sorry. And so what do you do in this Tech game if you're Kirby or if you're the players? How do you prepare? How do you even look at it? You take that with a Tech team that is aching with everything, especially with this new coach. They are aching to put one on Georgia. So that game is a little bit of a harder hitter than you would normally think glancing at your schedule.
Yeah. I got respect for what that roster they have right now with Haynes King, and they got a sophomore quarterback from Prince Avenue as well, who is more of a passer, and so they have some weapons. Then they did lose Singleton to Auburn. I think that's their wide receiver that was so good last year. So I don't know what other weapons other than but there will be a hard team to beat, I think, and especially with that rivalry game, as you see those kind of weird outcomes.
Right.
I think Georgia wins that game. I don't think Georgia makes the same mistake, but you're right. It sets up to a point where Georgia's proven all they need to do, and nothing's changing in terms of where they're gonna maybe the SEC championship and ready to win that game. So, yeah, I think Georgia goes 12-0. 12-0 regular season. That's just based off not me saying that they got to lose a game because they got to lose a game. It's looking at the season where the games are played at and who is on this Georgia team, what their roster looks like. And we already showed you Georgia is the most talented team in college football this year. Why would I pick against them when the toughest games are at home?
Agreed 100%. And I'm going to emphasize this because we're going to come back to this if this all comes to fruition, because this is a take we have not heard anywhere, that no one is picking. Even the Every Dogs podcast is predicting 2, sometimes 3, at least 1 loss. So Dog Show predicts Georgia undefeated, some tough fought games, and we'll be right back looking at this exact soundbite saying, look, there was one podcast that called it, and it was this one.
Again, you can't go into it with already decided it. You can't. It's tough. It is tough to go undefeated, but you can't go ahead and decide you're going to lose a game or two and then try to pick that game out. That's what everybody's doing.
Right.
And you are. And when you hear this, you're going to say, right, that's what I did. You can't. Look at the game by game, and it is tough every year to get up for every game. It is. It's tough to go through a full slate and be up and prepared and playing your best. And you don't. But when you are talented as Georgia is, maybe you don't have to play your A game every time.
Yes,
and you have enough players because you got enough players and playmakers to get it done.
Yeah.
And a coaching staff who is battle tested as well. There's not a better coaching staff in college football than what Georgia has on the sidelines and in the press box.
I'm with you, buddy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I like our predictions. We're rolling with it. We're gonna stand behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the season hasn't started yet, so we're roll with that. And you can call us homers, and we are homers, but
it's a Georgia podcast, people.
We call it like we see it.
That's
as
right.
Well. Let's look at the other teams. I think, Smooch, we got as we wrap this up, I do have a few other teams. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other teams. So counting Georgia, 9 teams with a chance to possibly be in that championship game. I don't want to pick a national champion. I want to pick teams that are potentially in that championship game, because once you get there, lots of things can happen in context of one ball game. We'll start off with Texas, and I think they are predicted by everyone, but a team that plays their toughest 2 games on the road, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Saturday they play at Ohio State, and then they play in Athens. And then they also have Florida and Texas A&M. They are a team that could lose a few games. They might even make the playoffs, but I predict they will.
Right.
But they are not a team that has, other than the quarterback last name of Manning, that I can go ahead and rubber stamp that is a championship team.
Yeah, Texas came in. They were given a cupcake schedule and said, welcome to the SEC. Here you go. Last year's SEC schedule was designed to elevate and promote Texas. They don't have the same cupcake schedule this year. They lost every important game. I mean, every game against a quality team they played, they lost last year. So when they're playing quality teams this year, let's wait and see before we dust off the trophy for them.
Yeah, Arch Manning was on that team last year, and anyway, it's his 3rd year, so maybe that'll make a difference. And I mean, he has the measurables, but he's still got to do it on the field. We've seen the measurables not pan out in W's in the past. Alabama is the second team I have here with talent composite is right there.
Yeah,
with Georgia and Texas, and they're kind of a team that lost. They lost 4 It had 4 losses last year, and 3 in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs. And so we don't know what DeBoer is yet. We don't. We ridiculed him last year because he's not Saban, but then he made some mistakes in how he approached just the demeanor and I think the whatever the vibe of this team just wasn't right.
Managing the superstar mindset, he didn't seem to settle in very well there.
And then we don't know what Ty Simpson's all about. He could be great. He could be a mediocre. We don't know. He could be, he might be right in the same boat as Gunnar Stockton is. He could be better than average. But, I think they are – I think that they are definitely a playoff team. I just don't know what their ceiling is.
Yeah, that's a great
talented
point. Yeah.
They've also got a couple of key injuries, Smooch. They have lost their best running back by far and their best defensive end, Keenan, or defensive lineman, injury. They're going to miss a big portion of the season. So we'll see how what that's going to affect it. I mean, when you got talent, you have guys to plug in there, but those are folks you're counting on that are difference makers.
I can tell you, living here in North Alabama, the fans that I talked to the mailman today. I had my bandana on, and he was
Jesse Bennett?
Not the mailman, a mailman.
A mailman.
Yeah. He was covered with Alabama gear, and he said exactly what you just said. He said, we don't know. We know we've got talent. We don't know what DeBoer is. We don't know what our quarterback is. We just don't know. And so there is not that electric excitement in Alabama right now like there was in years past, Troup.
It's tough because they've had a history in the past 10, 15 years of just knowing and accepting that we're Alabama.
Right.
And we're Alabama because we're Alabama and because Alabama.
Because Bama. Yep.
Because yes, but that's not the case. And we told you folks that before Saban left that you're not entitled to any of that.
Right.
And the head coach means so much. And
preach.
You just can't.
Yep.
And so he's going to have to remake that whole culture.
Yes.
And whether it succeeds or not, we'll find out. But I think they'll still be a playoff team. Alabama will be. I still respect that talent in that program.
Mm-hmm.
The next team that really kind of separates things after you get past this next team is OSU. And Ohio State is a team that won the championship last year. They are breaking in a new quarterback, Julian Sayin, who has all the talent in the world. He did transfer from Alabama as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a new quarterback, and those things take time sometimes. And it may be wonderful. They got a good, very, very talented team. But we don't know yet. They got Jeremiah Smith. So
he's a beast.
And just like Ryan Williams at Alabama, those are the two biggest playmakers in the country right now, best playmakers, most electric.
A lot of it may have to do with Ohio State just staying healthy because I like them on defense. I like that secondary. It's just a matter of keeping the guys that can score with the football in their hands on the field. It could just come down to that. But Ohio State they won the title last year. They did it in a playoff. That's hard to do. There's only one team that did it back-to-back, by the way. It's hard to do. And so we'll see this year. I think there's going to be a slight drop-off, but Ohio State will be in the playoff. They'll be there to the very end like they usually are. That would be my guess.
I have Oregon listed next, and their quarterback again it's kind of the running theme here. New quarterbacks, Dante Moore. Dylan Gabriel has gone to the NFL, and so Dante Moore, who is a former 5-star recruit.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know enough about him. We don't know how he's going to perform on the big stage. But he's not going to have a ton of games to, he's not like the team or Gunnar Stockton is going to have so many games to prove himself. He's got a couple of big games. But so Dante Moore, I think they got a good roster. They do have a good roster according to the talent composite.
Yeah.
But, and I respect Dan Lanning and the staff he's put together. But there are still a commodity that we think are playoff ready. But what's their ceiling? I don't know either.
I think they're 1 year away. I think they're another season or two away before we really start talking about serious championship contender. Definitely a playoff contender.
Yeah, and then we move on to a team I do want to talk about a bit is Penn State. And they only play a couple of tough games this year, Smooch. And you said what? They play Oregon and Ohio State, I think.
That's correct.
Just like last year. But their history shows you that they don't win these type games. And Drew Allar, who is they're basing everything off their running back room, which is Katron Allen, and there's another running back,
Nicholas Singleton.
Yeah, and so a good running back room, good line of scrimmage, but they're basing things off that Drew Allar is going to take that next step as a sophomore, as a junior. When last year, he padded his stats against subpar competition. He really did. 100%. You can look at it; it's right there for you to see. I'm not making it up. And against the good teams, he was not a difference maker at all.
Right,
and that's why they failed to win those games or failed to move past anything other than what their schedule would allow. Their schedule kind of predicted how they would go. They didn't surprise you at all.
Yeah. Well, anytime you've got two running backs returning that could have gone to the NFL and started this year, and they do. They have two running backs returning that could have both gone to the NFL. You like the way that sounds. It's going to look great against these weaker teams. I mean, they play so many cupcakes. They're never battle-tested and hardened when they get to the grittier games. I think that something like a playoff is just not designed for a Penn State. That is getting in there and having three just huge games in a row. I don't think it's there. I do not understand, Troup Brinson, this consistent desire to elevate Penn State to an upper echelon team, and we just give them credit for all the ifs. I'm talking about media. Just give them credit for all the ifs. Everything's good. They're going to be. I mean, they were ranked 2 in one poll. And I just don't see it. Yeah. And it's because they're in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten, as much as they want to talk about the SEC being carried by Georgia and Alabama, they are a conference that is carried by 2 teams. And then it gets so there's got to be somebody else to fill in. Right.
It's a Penn State fits right in there. The talent composite is at 10. Yeah. But that means there's 9 other teams that are more talented than you. So you're really basing a lot of that on if Drew Allar can be that quarterback, and he hasn't proven it yet. It'd be one thing if he's a junior quarterback coming in there, who in this last year he proved that he's the guy. He is a guy that makes plays. You can't tell him no. There's no stopping him. Mm-hmm. He's not proving that. It's just he's the third year quarterback. That's basically it. And measurables are good, but they're not going to out talent, like you said, teams when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah. And I think that if you look at their schedule, I'm looking at it right now, this schedule was set up to make them 10-2 and in the playoffs. That means one misstep. Aside from that, you're 9-3, 8-4, and you're out of the conversation. That's where I think the floor for Penn State is 5 losses. Okay. I think the ceiling, it might be a better season, but that's a lot of ifs you've got to hit on. And like you said, when quality steps onto the field and the opposition, they seem to just retreat inward and lay an egg. Watched it all year last year.
They've always been, like we said last week, a plotting team. They're not a team that they're going to play a lot of close games, that they have to play their best game. And if you play a lot of close games, there's going to be some crazy things that happen, turnovers and just explosive plays that don't go in your favor, and you lose. And so that's where we are on Penn State. You got to make us a believer, because we're not a believer. I don't think many people really are.
You're right.
They're just that team with a experienced quarterback in a season where there aren't a lot of experienced quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And the next two teams are both ACC teams. We'll talk about those together, Clemson and Miami. And I think those, other than we did mention Georgia Tech, they don't have the same roster as these two teams, Clemson and Miami. Clemson has the better roster, the better coach, the better resume, and the better, they've done it in the past with, Dabo. And they have a quarterback who is, again, seasoned quarterback. The Klubnik, a big year last year. We predicted Clemson to be right in the top, maybe a number one team this year in our poll. And with Klubnik maybe winning the Heisman.
Yeah.
They're not as talented as some of the top tier teams, but again, we mentioned it. They have a quarterback who could elevate that, maybe move up a couple of levels because of Klubnik.
100%. Klubnik's the real deal. He had a so-so game at best against Georgia in the season opener last year, and then he went on to prove that was an outlier, as you like to say. He proved that game was his outlier, that he went through and had a fabulous season, finally lived up to all that five-star potential he had coming out of high school, and he's returning to a strong team, and his ability to elevate his team, they're a top 4 team to me. They're right in the mix.
Well, it really depends on who. I mean, if you talk about them in Miami, and like I said, I think Clemson's better than Miami, but even though there's going to be a lot of hate towards Carson Beck by the way his last season with Georgia went and how he was going to go to the NFL, then end up coming back and then transfer into Miami, we're like, what happened?
Yeah, what's going on
in Miami? And then his girlfriend broke up with him, and so he was Miami probably for not many reasons other than that.
Yeah.
But I think that he may be poised to have a big season. It's the ACC, and he's a very, very talented passer. Despite with what we saw, his inconsistencies and his downfall was last season, Carson Beck is very talented. And he could have a huge year from Miami, so they're going to be in the mix. And Miami could have a special season. I don't think they match up team-wise against some of the top 3 or 4 talented teams, but just if they're in the mix and get down to that final 8 or final 4, that would be sensational for Miami. They haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah, and you do have to factor in, Carson had some concentration, some focus, and some preparation problems last year. Well, he also went through a very embarrassing offseason. Like, this wasn't fun for him. It's probably not fun for him right now. My point is these things can sometimes motivate a player to go above and beyond the effort he's put in before. If Carson Beck, he has, you talked about this in the pre-show, Troup, he has elite arm talent. He is an elite prospect in terms of talent. All he's got to do is take a step forward from where he was at Georgia last year, and then playing in this weaker conference, he could run absolutely wild. So that's a huge if, but if Carson hits in Miami, they're going to be right there.
Do open the season with Notre Dame on Sunday night. That'll be a game worth watching to see what.
Yeah, it's Sunday night.
That'll be very interesting. We're going to talk about Notre Dame next, but that'll be a game that we really want to see what they're all about and what Notre Dame's all about. That's a find out type of game, and game this season is going to tell you a lot. They don't play Clemson. They do play Florida and Florida State, which won't mean much. Syracuse, which may be a game, depending on what Fran Brown does with those.
They're going in the right direction.
Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Miami's got a great schedule. And so they could ride right through. It could be that championship game against Clemson that tells a tale with them. Team with deficiencies, but a team that is very intriguing to us as well.
Yes, I agree.
And I think they got a good offensive line. I think Carson Beck does elevate them. Yeah. And we'll see. Notre Dame, Miami and Notre Dame to start the season off on Sunday. So
Sunday night,
a little dessert. The appetizer is Friday night, the entree is Saturday, and the dessert is Saturday night with Miami and Notre Dame. So
Notre Dame, I was looking at their schedule earlier today. They actually have an interesting schedule. There's not those, they're not going to play the huge marquee games if they can avoid it. But so they of course have Miami. Then they have Texas A&M. Then they have 2 weeks later they have Arkansas, and then they have a Boise State team that is actually ranked, but they're getting beat by USF as we speak. So, and then like you said, Syracuse down there. Those are teams that can win. So I wouldn't call Notre Dame's schedule this year a pushover, but it's not elite. But there are some interesting games in there that'll kind of filter them out. But I think Notre Dame lost some stuff, and I think they caught lightning in a bottle last year. I don't know how easy that is to replicate for them.
Yeah, and plus their quarterback position is definitely of conjecture. I think C.J. Carr was named their starting quarterback. We don't know what. Again, it's the theme for this season. We don't know what these new quarterbacks are going to do. They could make huge names for themselves, or they could, die on the vine, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think they're talented.
Yeah.
And they got the right philosophy. I just don't know if they got the right skill players. So we'll see. And that'll be fun to watch. But that's where I am. That's where the dog show kind of is right now. As we went through the contenders.
I am more excited. I'm more excited now. I'm ready. I'm ready for football.
We've had people texting us this week and say, "When's your show coming out?" And sorry, no DFA, but I promise you,
there will be material.
Yes, this slate of game this weekend is going to be a lot of DFA stuff. We're going to have to kind of go through that. But this is more about this is the countdown to kickoff, folks.
Yeah.
And we're counting it down. Smooch is off for the next few days. He's taking almost a half a week of tailgating.
Yep, there you go. I'll tell you this: if you take this slate of games, do not sleep on Auburn, Baylor, and Tennessee, Syracuse. I'm not saying those teams are going to come in and upset them, but I'm saying if there was going to be an upset of major proportions Saturday, I would pick Syracuse, Tennessee, and the Fran Brown celebration begins.
Wow, where's that game at, Smooch? You know where that one is?
It's in Neyland, so that does help. But
we don't even think about Syracuse other than Fran Brown's their coach.
Fran Brown, and we do know this: Tennessee, these Heupel teams, Tennessee struggled mightily with Hendon Hooker at quarterback in the game one against Pitt a couple of years ago, and ended up in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. So if they come in flat against a Fran Brown team, watch out. I'm just saying, keep an eye on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, we are excited to see it, Smooch. And we may have a little rapid reaction as well.
Yeah.
And that'll be Saturday afternoon as we get ready for the night slate of games. But Georgia and Marshall, we hadn't talked about Georgia and Marshall, and we don't know much about Marshall. They have a whole lot of new teams.
Players, yeah.
New players, yes.
They have the lowest returning production in all of college football. So what they're going to be, we just do not know. New coaches, new players, and so I heard a guy say today they might be the worst team in college football. I heard that, but the unknown is always the unknown. The unknown's what can punch you in the mouth. So, but yeah. Lowest returning production in terms of players. And so hopefully Georgia just goes out there and just takes care of business instead of these unsatisfying 7 to 9 first halves or something like that they do sometimes. First quarter, go out there and lay the lumber. Let's have some fun. Let's make Georgia football fun again, people.
Yeah, I think Georgia is going to be a lot more vertical this year, have a good running game too. We've heard from that in the practices, but there's nothing left for else but just to play the games. And talking season is pretty much come to an end, and we get to watch football and then just analyze that. But a good weekend to kick it off, and we are excited to weigh in on what happens after that. And it should be a great Georgia season. I think the mindset of fire, passion, and energy, and just being a hungry team is going to hopefully play out for Georgia, and that's what we're looking forward to that. It's a young team, folks. It is really a young team for Georgia, and but so talented. So after this year, we may look back and say, wow, what a team that was in 2025. Yeah, that's what I hope.
That potential's all there right now. Let's hope it's still there after Saturday afternoon. We'll see. Let's do it.
Everybody for tuning in. We are anxiously waiting for Saturday, but for Smooch Moncrief, this is Troup Brinson saying so long. We will see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troup and Smooch.
It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.